Hello, thanks for joining us to learn more about clinical trials. My name is Dr. Christina Calamero. I am a pediatric nurse practitioner, the director of research and evidence-based practice for nursing and allied health at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, as well as a clinical associate professor at Emory School of Nursing in Atlanta, Georgia. The following modules were developed by pediatric nurse practitioners for pediatric nurse practitioners with the support of the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners, as well as Lilly, a pharmaceutical company, advancing science to solve significant health challenges. This segment will focus on the benefits and barriers of clinical trials. There are numerous benefits to having your patient participate in a clinical trial. They include, first, access to innovative, cutting-edge interventions, devices, and medications. For example, there are currently multiple technologies that are changing and evolving the treatment and management of type 1 diabetes mellitus. It may include access to additional and/or better treatment options. Perhaps your patient has a rare genetic disorder and they have access to every treatment modality. A clinical trial may offer access to additional or better treatment options. The care may be free or at reduced cost for those specific medications, devices, or treatments. And even more importantly, they may receive the specialized care for that rare disease or genetic disorder. The neat thing is for your patient is to reinforce to them, it may contribute to future medical care. It may dramatically change guidelines or policies as we explore and develop novel interventions, technologies, or medications for disease processes. A clinical trial also ensures safety where there is close monitoring of safe side effects and risks involved. There also may be a personal benefit for your patient. First, again, it may open the door to understanding your patient's condition or disease process, as well as develop new treatment modalities for them. And again, another personal benefit may be financial remuneration for their time. Patients really take time out of their schedule to participate in clinical trials, and rightly so, they should be remunerated for their time. Again, for any patient, participant, the benefits can be significantly motivating factors or reasons why they should seek out clinical trials. When you do discuss the topic of a clinical trial with patients and families, it's so important to understand maybe the barriers that families encounter in participation in clinical trials. These barriers often prohibit families from receiving the aforementioned benefit of a clinical trial. It is important to ascertain as you speak about clinical trials, does a family have transportation? If families are working families, it may be difficult for them to get there during the hours that the provider who is leading that clinical trial may be available. Does it mean they miss time at school or work? Are there language barriers? Are there cultural barriers? Is there an overall distrust of the healthcare system? Do they have a fear of experimental treatments because perhaps they've been on the internet and read on different sites about what happens with certain treatments? Is there a lack of real knowledge or understanding of clinical trials? And again, do the families have a real concern for side effects, adverse events, or any unknown effects? These are all important areas to probe with families and to address and lead them to resources that may clearly and articulate the purpose of the clinical trial, as well as the time involvement or the availability of the providers for those families. P&Ps can actively help families by assessing and addressing these barriers to participation in clinical trials. For example, distrust and fear of experimental trials really may limit people from participating. It is very important for me and you to really take that extra step and ask that extra question to understand what are the concerns the family have that may limit them from participating in a clinical trial that may be beneficial for their family member. It is very important to address some of these concerns by pointing families to resources that they can watch, such as YouTube videos or websites that may help them in their understanding. There are two that I think are helpful. One is our Clinical Trials Safe, Your Questions Answered. And there is another that is a website put out by the National Cancer Institute that includes videos that explain what happens when you participate in a clinical trial. Both are non-biased and have a wonderful approach to understanding what a clinical trial is and how one can participate. Finally, if your patient is in a clinical trial, take the time and effort to follow up regularly with them, even so that you can have an understanding of what that clinical trial entails. Ask them how it's going. Advocate for any needs they may have. Be a contact person for them and a resource for them, and most importantly, be their pediatric nurse practitioner. Thanks for your time, and we really hope that this information is helpful for you.